An armed man was shot and killed by the US Secret Service after breaking into Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. The gunman has been identified as 21-year-old Austin Tucker Martin. He'd been reported missing a few days earlier. Joining me now is Sky News contributor Kosha Gada. Kosha, thanks for your time. So what do we know about this man, what he was doing there, and what's the reaction to his shooting been?
So far, we know very little beyond just what you stated, Sharri. His motives, we can surmise them, but they've not officially or publicly been released yet by authorities. We do know he went missing. He purchased a shotgun along the way from North Carolina, where he's from, driving down to Florida. And he breached the security perimeter of Mar-a-Lago. The president and the first lady were not there. They were in D.C. He had a can of gasoline alongside the gun, and when authorities told him to stand down, he reportedly put the can of gasoline down, but aimed the firearms at them, and that is what led to them reacting with lethal force. In terms of the reaction, I would actually say it was surprising to me, or maybe not surprising, that the media hasn't covered it so much, which is in and of itself maybe an indictment on where we are as a society. Back home, this is only the third attempted assassination of President Trump, albeit this didn't come very close, and it feels like just another day, another assassination attempt.
Or potentially fourth. Now, Tucker Carlson has publicly apologised to Israeli President Isaac Herzog after falsely suggesting that he'd visited Epstein's island. But Kosha, what I find so bizarre is that when he did this apology video, he claimed in it twice that there were huge protests in Australia against Herzog over Epstein. I mean, this is extreme misinformation. The protests, yes, against Herzog had nothing to do with Epstein. Have a look.
So at the time I said that, there had been news items about this. In fact, there was a protest against Herzog on the basis of this email when he went to Australia recently, and he hadn't responded to any of that. Well, now we've received a long letter from President Herzog's office denying that he went to Epstein's island. In fact, denying unequivocally that he had any contact with Epstein ever. President Herzog says he's never had any contact with Epstein ever. And so I just want to say that in the interest of honesty and transparency.
And he repeated the protest line again as a reason why he'd believed this in the first place. I mean, that sort of misinformation is unbelievable. But also, Kosha, must have been, you'd have to think, some pretty strong legal threats to actually get Tucker Carlson to apologise for something.
Yes, I think that's a fair assumption. And linking the Australian protests was a long bow to draw. He was presumably trying to lace together the rationale that led to him saying what he did in that interview. But yes, in the U.S. in general, libel laws against public figures, it's very, very hard to bring any sort of defamation claim in general against the media. And then on top of that, people in the independent media lane like Tucker typically don't do that. So this is a pretty unequivocal retraction. He not only issued that apology, but he also deleted about 3 minutes of the video where that exchange around President Herzog took place and re-uploaded it as well to presumably try and push back against any further fallout that would come from this. So we don't know the details, but I think your assumption is a safe one to make, that there might have been some concern of legal threats along with others.
Now, Steve Witkoff has warned that Iran could have bombs within a week. So what do we know here, Kosha? We know that the US president is considering military action, but now Witkoff has come out with this statement.
Yes, it only seems to be escalating, at least rhetorically, and the allegations that are coming out from intelligentsia, and now Witkoff, of course, speaking in official capacities. We know that the fleet has been moved for a long time into that region, and that is part of President Trump's signature style of sort of showing force, doing a bit of saber rattling, not being afraid to go in like he did with the 12-day war, but then also always signaling to his base that he prefers non-military action, he prefers economic sanctions and other ways to not get to that place. And he's still sort of offering both options on the table, but always saying that anything is on the table. And it seems like we are closer than we have ever been.
But the time frame still unclear.
Still unclear.
Yeah. Now, it's been probably we're not going to have time for this topic, so I might leave it. I was going to ask you about Prince William's comments. He's broken his silence about the Former Prince Andrew saga said he's not in a calm state of mind, but we're just not going to have time to get to that, Kosha. Thank you very much for joining me.